So what if we could actually starve cancer? Today we're going to dive deep into the science of what fuels a cancer cell and how that very fuel source might just be its greatest weakness.
To really get a handle on what goes wrong, we first have to understand what goes right inside a healthy cell. And it all starts with its tiny, microscopic power source.
You see, inside every single one of our healthy cells is a powerhouse. And believe me, it is the absolute key to this entire story.
This little engine is called the mitochondrion, and what scientists have observed is that it's pretty much ground zero. It's the first thing that takes a hit when a cell is under attack.
And what's doing the attacking? Well, things like environmental toxins, radiation exposure, and even chronic stress can directly damage the mitochondria. And when that happens, it sets off a catastrophic chain reaction inside that cell.
But here's where it gets really interesting. When that powerhouse gets damaged, the cell doesn't just, give up. It switches to a kind of backup generator to survive.
Think of it like this. A healthy cell is a finely tuned, efficient engine that burns oxygen for fuel. But a damaged cell, it panics. It reverts back to this really primitive, gas-guzzling survival mode called fermentation.
Okay, so what does this panicked fermenting cell actually eat? This, right here, is where we start to uncover what might be cancer's biggest vulnerability.
So unlike our healthy cells, these damaged cells become completely hooked on two things. First, sugar. They burn through it at an insane rate because that fermentation process is so inefficient. And second, an amino acid called glutamine, which they use as raw building material.
But our bodies have a kind of secret weapon, a fuel source that's derived from fat called ketones. And for these damaged fermenting cells, ketones are a massive problem. And this right here, this is the critical takeaway. Our healthy cells can easily switch over and use ketones for energy, no problem. But cancer cells, with their broken powerhouses, are metabolically unable to use them. Studies indicate they literally struggle to survive in the presence of ketones.
This discovery has opened up a whole new strategic way of thinking. What if you could cut off the cancer cell's supply of sugar and glutamine, and instead flood the body with the one fuel it can't use?
But just starving a tumor is only one part of the battle. You see, a growing tumor also needs a way to get its fuel delivered, so it starts building its own supply lines. This process is called angiogenesis, and it's basically like a tumor acting as its own rogue construction company, building out a whole network of blood vessels to feed its growth. But here is another fascinating piece of the puzzle. Researchers have found that certain phytonutrients, these are just powerful plant-based compounds, especially the ones you find in leafy greens, can act like saboteurs, getting in there and disrupting the tumor's whole construction project. So when we put all of these pieces together, what we start to see is the emergence of a powerful, three-pronged strategy for protecting our cellular health.
It's a three-part plan, really. First, shield the mitochondria from damage in the first place. Second, switch the body's main fuel source away from sugar and toward ketones. And third, you sabotage the tumor's supply lines with the right kinds of foods.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? The future of our health might not lie in some miracle drug, but in understanding and actually controlling the very fuel that our cells run on. By learning to speak the language of our own metabolism, we might just be able to take a much more active role in our own long-term health.